This is gonna be like another 5-minute long video. It's really stupid, isn't it?
I believe it's been less than a minute, but we've already achieved that.
Hey guys, it's Josie.
And Asia, and today we're going to review Les Mis.
And I'd like to personally apologize for the movie synopsis we're about ready to put you through.
Yeah.
The movie starts in 1815 and there's a prisoner named Jean Valjean.
Did you mean Jean Valjean?
Jean Valjean is working on a ship with other prisoners as they all sing about their slavery.
Javert is commanding the slaves and he tells prisoner 24601, who is Jean Valjean, to pick up the flag. He does so, but the flag is really heavy and he's struggling. Then he sings a song about all he did was steal a loaf of bread and that he's already done his time. But Javert retaliates that he tried to run and thus had to serve more time. Don't break parole, kids.
Anyway, Javert tells him he's on parole once again and needs to report somewhere in 30 days or he'll be hunted down. He's taken in by a priest and tries to steal silver but is caught, and the priest tells him to make an honest man of himself and sell the silver.
Then we skip to 1823 and Jean Valjean is now mayor and he has a new name that I don't remember. He also owns a factory where seamstresses sew stuff and they sing a song. And Angelina Jolie is Fantine and all the other girls hate her. They find a letter and then she's fired by the people who came with Javert because Javert's an inspector. He's visiting Jean Valjean and really doesn't remember him. And then Fantine is kicked out onto the streets. Later, she ends up cutting her hair, getting 2 teeth pulled, and becoming a prostitute.
Before she's kicked out into the streets, Javert and Jean Valjean are walking in the street and Jean pushes something heavy off a man who's trapped and Javert remembers him as a slave. Later, Fantine is sick and out in the cold and Jean Valjean takes her to a hospital and promises to take care of her child. She then dies, Javert and Jean Valjean battle it out and Jean gets away.
Jean Valjean goes to find Cosette, who's Fantine's child, living with Madame the Thénardier? I don't know. She's super mean to Cosette, but really nice to her own child Daphne, but she's not really important yet, but she will be. So then Corsage has to go into the woods to get water from the well, and Jean Valjean finds her and takes her back to the inn. While this is happening, Madame and Master Thénardier are singing a song and taking people's stuff. And after everyone leaves, Jean Valjean comes back with quarter and has to take her away. And he does, but not until he pays a bunch of money because the Thénardiers are greedy.
Jean Valjean and Cosette are in a carriage, but they get out because they see Javert, and he chases after them. They get out of plain sight and ask a man in the graveyard, who Jean Valjean saved earlier, for a place to lay low. Then, the year is 1832, and Jean and Cosette are living low once again, but they're older. They're passing through a town and coincidentally run into Madame and Master Thénardier, who cause a big scene in front of Javert. Cosette catches the eye of the young revolutionary and university student Marius.
Around this time, a bunch of university students and a little kid who we do not talk about are singing about a rebellion and how they want change. During that song, Darius is singing about his love for Corvettes. That night, Mariette goes to see Quarantine and is led there by a grown-up Panini. They sing, because nobody talks in this movie, and fall in love with the gate in between them. Yes. But every friend is singing about her unrequited love. Jean Valjean calls Corvette back into the house and tells her to pack up because Javert found the cover. She leaves a note for Dairy Queen and espionage, takes the letter, and reads it.
Later, Marius finds out that she left and is heartbroken, but decides to join the boys in the rebellion. Also, a guy named Lamarck, that was a spokesperson for them, dies, and the students decide it's time for the rebellion. However, Javert knows that they would stage the rebellion, and he says that his forces are ready. In the morning, during the funeral, they stage the rebellion, taking over the hearse and singing the same songs earlier, which is quite catchy.
The first part of the rebellion takes place, and the rebels run through the streets, and for no reason, people throw their furniture into the street to form a barricade. Then the military comes through, and they assault the barricades, and there's this standoff between Mary Queen and one of the soldiers in the French army. He threatens to blow up the entire barricade, himself with it, but then the soldiers back off, and everybody retreats. Before this happened, Javert snuck in as an undercover rebel, but the little kid recognized him as Inspector Sherbert, and then they tied him up.
Jean Valjean slips into the rebellion as a volunteer soldier, pretends to kill Javert but lets him go, and comes back to fight and protect Marius. They learn that the French army will attack again, and they have cannons, and many die, including the young boy in Eponine, who snuck into the rebellion as a boy and took a bullet from Marius. Then Marius gets shot, and Jean Valjean rescues him by dragging him through the sewers and to the church for medical attention.
After Sherbert gives up the chase, he goes to a bridge that overlooks a dam, sings a sad song about him being confused, which is kind of just a reprise of earlier, and then jumps off the bridge and thus dies. Mary Lewis wakes up and sings a song about all of his friends being dead, except for Croissant, of course, who he ends up marrying after Jean Valjean sings about how he has to go away and who he actually is. Then he leaves, goes to the church, and begins to die. While this is happening, the Dean of the Years crash the wedding and tell Barry that they know where Corvette's father went. They go to find Jean Valjean dying in the chair, and he sees hallucinations of Fantine, sings to the newlyweds a bit, gives cherry to paper, and then dies. At the end, there was a surprise, and everyone who died is on the barricade singing about red, the color of anger madness.
Hey guys, it's Josie.
And Asia, and today we're going to review Les Mis.
And I'd like to personally apologize for the movie synopsis we're about ready to put you through.
Yep.
Alright, now that we've finished that stellar movie synopsis, we're going to complain to you about the inaccuracies of the film. To begin, when I first saw the film, I thought it was about the French Revolution, which happened from 1789 to 1799. I think we all thought it was about the French Revolution, and were surprised when we found out it wasn't. But the battle that they focus on in the movie is the June Rebellion, which is minuscule in comparison to the actual revolution.
Something that I noticed is that they didn't go into any of why this happened. For example, they skimmed over the actual French Revolution and the Bourbon Restoration, which put monarchs back in charge for a short amount of time. Also, they used the wrong French flag for most of the movie. The flag before the Revolution was white and had the fleur-de-lis, but the movie used the post-Restoration flag, which is also the flag that we know today.
Les Mis has less factual inaccuracies and more information left out or stereotyped. An example of this would be the representation of poor women and children in France in the 1800s. The movie portrays child abandonment as being normal, but the conditions Cosette faced weren't really ideal for an abandoned child. Instead of being dropped off at an inn or a house, they'd usually be given to religious charities or hospices until they were about 25. Often these children came out to be illiterate and unskilled, and they found themselves in the same situations that led their parents to abandon them. Also, the movie portrays older women that are poor as being heartless and thieving, but prostitutes as being fragile and defenseless when really they were very street smart.
The movie did get a lot of things right too. The costumes were very accurate as to what people could afford back then. Women in jobs are portrayed accurately too, because we see women as seamstresses and cleaners, which were part of the select few jobs that they could do. These jobs also included prostitution, laundries, and domestic servants. The movie also portrays France as being Catholic, which was, and still is, true.
Another thing the movie got right was the portrayal of how much of the population was poor. The movie shows many people being poor, and many were. Even though France became one of the richest nations and partook in the Industrial Revolution, it was still primarily agricultural, which left about 3/4 of the population to be poor.
Overall, I think that Les Mis' problem was providing not enough information as opposed to misinformation. But overall, it's still a pretty good movie.
Yep. Okay, blooper number 1.
Okay.
Right off the bat. Okay. Hey guys, it's Josie.
And today we're going to talk about the Les Mis.
Okay, let's just redo that.
Yeah.
Guys, I'm two.
Go. Shoo. Go. Go.
Around this time, okay.
Oh
Obviously.
my gosh. That night, Mary goes to see Quarantine and is led there by Curtis Panini. Don't laugh.
Grown-up Panini.
Don't laugh. Okay, they sing because no one talks in this movie and fall in love with a gate in between them, but then everything. Oh God! Don't slam with the computer.
Okay, here's mine.
What do you want for your final meal? Like a fully loaded AK-47?